Same old Bobby, same old beat. Well, yeah, they got nothing on me. The same old kites, same old streets.
That much fighting in this one.
But yeah, they got nothing on me.
That was nasty.
What's up team, we are back for YouTube number 2 on the MARCHON training page. We're down at Loughborough today and we're doing some physiology testing. This is Lucia, did I get that right?
Yeah, perfect.
Just about. We're going to be doing 2 tests, myself, Giles and Ollie are all here. We're going to start with in fact I'm going to let you explain what we're doing today.
So we're doing 2 different tests today. So we're doing the first one is called Submax test. It's divided in stages. We're going to put them to different paces and then they're going to have a bit of a break and then we're going to go into the VO2 max test, which is essentially all out test, and then we're really going to see where they at.
So if I don't beat him in the marathon, I'm hoping that I can beat him today in some of this testing. So at least I get 1 up on him. But if I lose to Giles, then I'm calling the whole thing off and we're not running the London Marathon in 2025. 4:57. 4:21. Yeah, that should be fine.
Just get settled in the first few. It's nice and easy.
The first time on the March on YouTube actually.
Hi, I'm Ollie. Proud to be here on the March on YouTube. It's an honour to be invited along to the B Team's Day Out here at Loughborough University. They're very excited about this. It's a great venue, so Cormac's invited us in. This is part of Loughborough's services that they obviously have in-house for their athletes, but it's something that people from the outside, whether it's athletes, sports clubs, businesses, can come and use and enjoy. And we're very fortunate to come and test it ourselves. Obviously we're on week 9 of the current marathon block, so we have 7 weeks left. Currently I still have no place for the London Marathon, so if anyone out there has a spare ticket for the London Marathon, please get me to the start line. Otherwise, Chad is training to beat his big brother, and he will beat me purely by default because he starts the race. But yeah, 3 of us are going to do our VO2 max testing today. We've got our submax test first. We are also going to see what our substrate utilisation is like, so how we should be fueling these kind of runs, and I think we're going to do a max out effort at the end, which is something we didn't do when we tested myself and Mark Dean at Westminster University when we did the VO2 max testing last time round, which is basically you run as fast as you can for as long as you can until you die. That'll be a nice way to end. Big up Loughborough, best sporting facilities in the land, and we're very grateful and very fortunate.
Yeah, I'm sure I told you so. They just want you for your door. Man, I'm sure I told you so.
My Submax test done. Took about an hour and 15, just because I had so many levels to go through. LT2 is right up there. I think I finished up at about 4-minute pace. Can't quite remember where that first kind of LT1 hit. I think it was probably around 4:30 pace. Yeah, Ollie's up next.
Searching for another life. And yeah, I think you got in your sights. Well, easy. There's no need to take that toll. What easy. I'm on this
20. So a little technical glitch halfway through Ollie's testing. The sensor, I think, in the mask wasn't quite picking up, or it was quite erratic in what was picking up in terms of oxygen and CO2. So Ollie's test was just a submaximal test with LT1 and LT2. There isn't any substrate utilisation, I don't think. But we found a fix for Gilo. We've moved into the altitude chamber. He's not working at altitude, but he's going to do it in there. So a slightly different setup, but he's going to get all the data. So he's in there now starting. Just started his ramp. We'll see him in about 40 minutes. I'll beat him on the height front. Yeah, I knew. Extra centimetre. You must have shrunk. You used to be about this.
Yeah, I've shrunk. That's what happens when you fucking...
Well, you're actually 5'8" now, bro.
Like, you know? It's a bit peak, fam. I swear I was 5'10", but I was 19.
You get a blue badge for that. Free parking on the streets.
How long does each one take?
We've got enough time to get you all through. The consistent pace, I think 12.4.
12.5.
12.5 kilometers per hour. Then every minute, the incline's just going to increase. So I've just got to hold on for as long as possible.
How's that?
I just didn't feel too strong.
Uptake, red line is your carbon dioxide output. What we're looking for is a plateau in this blue line. So basically looking to the point where intensity is going up, but your oxygen uptake isn't. We know you've hit that VO2 max, you've hit that ceiling, and that's really clear there. You've held that for a good few minutes there. Yes. So we've got what we needed from the test. The fact that you felt a bit tired wouldn't have influenced it. So all around it's a really, really good effort. So right effort.
That was tough. Felt pretty heavy. But the test did what it needed to, so it's all good. Probably should have had a little bit more fight in me. It's nice. Ollie's up next. That's quite tough. I didn't have much fight in me, to be honest. Not my best showing, but I think we got VO2 max scores, which scores. I had a few alarm bells ringing in my ears, so I don't want to ruin myself for the rest of the fucking day or tomorrow.
That was nasty.
10 minutes?
10 minutes, yeah. Nice round number.
Easy work, mate. Easy work.
Okay, we've got the B team boys behind me. We're wrapping up an amazing day here at Loughborough University. We were in the performance centre, as you saw. We tested submaximal tests, we got our substrate utilisation, we got our VO2 max, and we also saw who's got the biggest cojones to hang on the longest, which I think was Gilo in terms of duration, but he was running backwards at a very slow pace.
Hey.
So we'll wait for the results at the end of the week, and we'll see who is champion. Right now, Chad's on for a 3:20 marathon. Gilo's on for a 3:27. I'm on for a 3:06. We've got 7 weeks left to get these times down. Let's go, baby. Well done, boys.
What's up, team? So it's been a couple of weeks since we hit those physiology tests at Loughborough. We've got our results and we've got a really extensive report for each of us. And I just wanted to give you a little bit more of an insight into what the information that we're trying to take out of this is, and also what the tests entailed. So we did two main tests. It was a submaximal test and a VO2 max test, but we also got our substrate utilization within that as well. So we'll start off with the submax test. So the submax test is a running test designed to assess your endurance by measuring your physiological responses to exercise at an increasing intensity. Now we did this by running on the treadmill for 6-minute intervals, and every 6 minutes we would jump off, they'd take our bloods, we'd jump back on at an increased pace, and we keep doing that until we found the two spikes in lactate, and this gave us our LT1 and our LT2, essentially lactate threshold 1, lactate threshold 2. Now I'll explain why those points are important a little bit later on, but what we wanted to get from this test is that LT1 point, because this starts to give us an indication of a proposed time that we might be able to hit in our marathon race, which is what this training is all about. So for me personally, it gave me a little bit of confidence that I can go to the pace that I want to and go sub 3 hours 30. So a relatively trained person can typically sustain their LT1 pace for around 3 hours, whilst LT2 can typically be sustained for 45 to 60 minutes. So we're not too worried about that LT2 pace, but it gives us some good training markers for some of our faster efforts. But that LT1 pace is really where we want to kind of develop and pitch or understand so that we can have the appropriate training. So for myself, my LT1 occurred at around 12.8 kilometers per hour on the treadmill, which gave me a pace of 4 minutes 41 per kilometer. For Giles, this happened at 11.7 kilometers per hour at a pace of 5:07. And then for Ollie, this occurred at 13.6 kilometers per hour at a pace of 4:25. So roughly it spat out a marathon time of around 3:20 for myself, around 3:27 for Giles, and then around 3:06 for Ollie. Next up, in conjunction with that submax test, the masks that we were using were looking at our substrate utilization. Now, this is a real key thing. A marathon distance is obviously a fair chunk of time, so we need to make sure that we're fueling appropriately for the duration of that race. This showed us the correlation between fat and carbohydrate utilization at increasing intensities. So also, whilst that lactate is starting to rise, our demands on fuel starts to manipulate as well along with that. Now, it's a really cool insight into where we started to kick more into carbohydrates than fats, and also an insight into how many carbohydrates we might not need to take on per hour as we go through marathon training and also marathon race day. Personally, my carbohydrate demands were relatively high. I think it turned out at around 120 grams per hour that I use, which means that I also need to fuel appropriately in the days leading up to either longer training days or marathon race day, because it's going to be quite hard to try and get 120 grams on per hour in training and on race day. It's probably going to be a little bit too much on the gut. In terms of training implications or training interventions, it means that I need to get more efficient at using fats at lower intensities to delay that kind of flick into carbohydrates. From the test, we also got given our training zones. Now it shows that I want to do my easy runs as far away, or not as far away from, but way before that LT1 point, so that I can stay aerobic and try and become more efficient at using fats as my fuel source. Now I can do this in a number of ways. It can be making sure that I'm running slow enough, for long enough, but also I can go into some fasted training. So one of the interventions that I was given was maybe if I'm doing a double session on a Monday and a Tuesday, Monday night I might do a hard running session to deplete some of my glycogen stores. Tuesday morning I might do a early fasted session, which will be slow and easy, as my glycogen stores will be low and I'll be forced to kick into or use fat as my fuel source for that race, so long as I can stay at an easy pace. So when it came to the testing day, there was actually a little bit of a malfunction with Ollie's test, so he didn't get the substrate utilization information that I and Giles have. But then also when it came to Giles, he was less carbohydrate dependent, but he also kicked into it relatively early. So also for him, making sure that he's training in the right zones and fueling appropriately through the race and training will stand him in good stead for race day. So then we were into our VO2 max test. This was our last test. Now a VO2 max test is the maximum volume of oxygen that you're able to take up and use. This can be used as an indicator of endurance performance potential, although the lactate threshold and lactate turn point are more relevant predictors of your current performance capacity. So that's the LT1 and LT2. Now we did this by continuous running at a pace that was relevant to us and our LT1 and LT2, and then every minute that we were running, the incline on the running machine increased until we were no longer able to complete the running. And that was done by us pulling out ourselves. Our VO2 max had already been hit by certain points anyway. Now for myself it was 54, for Ollie it was 53.2, and for Giles it was 63. We're unsure whether this is as accurate as possible because his weight was slightly different. But for all of us, this kind of put us in the bracket of a competitive club level runner or just a club level runner, between that. As I said, it's not so relevant with our marathon training, but would give us an indication or an appropriate training pathway towards a 5K race or something like that. All in all, it was a wicked day down at Loughborough. Really cool to get some good training insights to make sure that we're doing the right things over the remainder of our training block as we move towards London Marathon. The facilities were incredible, the staff were wicked, so thank you very much, Loughborough. Keep watching us as we take on these final few weeks of marathon training, and I train to beat my big brother in the London Marathon.